Welcome to the best TV of 2024 countdown so far on the Intercut podcast channel. I am your co-host, Zachary Shevich, and joining me, he's got Conan clearance. It's Arturo Zurita.
We were going to do a whole fish stuck, unstuck, but we didn't want to spoil the final season for y'all, so make sure you go check out what is easily going to be one of the best shows of 2024.
Absolutely. Also, as we normally do, we got to say hi to Amanda the Jedi. Welcome back to the best TV of the year so far.
Thanks for having me, as always.
It's a pleasure, as always.
From the Acolyte?
I had hopes, and now it's like, I agree with you, but not for the same reasons.
Yeah, we may not touch on those reasons in this countdown because we're talking about the best TV of 2024 so far. We've done this countdown several times, and it's another interesting year, although I found this year a little bit harder to just navigate because I don't know if it's the disparity of all the different TV shows out there. I feel like I've dipped a toe into so many TV shows, but I've struggled to finish as many as I normally do. How have you found the year in 2024 as far as TV is concerned so far? Amanda, why don't you start us off?
Oh, Zach's having a me year.
Yeah. I'm struggling to put together my 10 as normally you're in that position, but I've found myself empathizing with that struggle this time around.
Yeah, I'm probably pretty on par with you. Like, there's some stuff on this list that I haven't finished yet that I'm just like, good vibes so far. I'm continuing. Because I just get not distracted, but like with television shows, sometimes it's hard to, if it's not like a spectacle and I don't have time to finish it and then one day I start watching it, like something else will, not because it's a bad show, but like I just recently started watching Twin Peaks again. So I'm just like going back through that. So, you know, but it's good. There's a lot of good stuff coming out this year so far, and then there's a lot of stuff that's currently in progression that I'm hoping is going to pan out by the end of the year that are also on this list too, because that's how I am. But yeah, it's good. You're just having a me year. It's fine. You'll get there.
Exactly. Yeah, I normally don't like to add shows unless I've completed the season, but I've definitely got some incomplete seasons on my list this year. But yeah, I agree with you. Sometimes you can just get drawn back to older stuff as well. I think the best TV show I've seen so far this year has probably been The Sopranos, but I don't know if we're including rewatches on our list. All right, how about you? What is your take on 2024 so far in TV? Because we've mentioned many times on the podcast, coming off a year in which there are a bunch of work stoppages, so schedules are out of whack. I feel like Netflix has been, unlike the other studios, really well prepared. And they have a plethora of stuff where not everybody else has that catalog to choose from.
Yeah, I told Zach that we're going to be stretching this out until 9 p.m. when the Bear Season 3 drops, so then that way we have that recorded, ready to go, already to include onto the list. But I feel like, as much as we always talk about, the Bear's so good, it should be released weekly, I don't know, I feel like there have been shows, now that we're fully into all of these services, where you got to realize that may not be the best option for everybody. And nobody wants to hear that, but it's true. I think there are a lot of shows at the beginning of the year where if you're busy, we travel a lot, those shows go under the radar. I did not get to finish Mr. and Mrs. Smith, even stuff like Griselda. We started and then continued traveling. When we were at South by, that was another one with Three Body Problem. I think one of y'all may have finished that. But that's the issue that I think is beyond 2024 that happens on a yearly basis, but you see it more and more when it comes to shows that are either like streamed all at once and it's not the best case for it, or they're streamed on a weekly basis and it's also not the best case for it. Some shows, I don't know, that's the PR teams to figure out like what show's really going to hit if you put it all in one, and then what show is going to be better when it's like a House of the Dragons that people are going to tune in. It really is a gamble. It's like picking a thumbnail. What's going to make the video, the series do better? But I think a big thing for this year that I have noticed is you got to finish a show because it will lie to you in its second half. You know, there are shows like Sugar that had me in the top half. I'm out there recommending it to people, and then an episode comes by, and, you know, all the credibility's just gone.
Fucking chosen one out the window, bitch.
There was a couple of those, you know. I'm not including the Jake Gyllenhaal one, but I've been loving that one so far.
Presumed Innocent.
But my brother finished it. and it's got him reading the book. Like, that's how I know that it's that good, but it frustrated him so much. He's like, no, I got to know how this ends. Like, there must be another ending to this. So that's probably the biggest thing. I think shows have shifted from its first half to second half. But we're also in the era of 1A, 2A, 2B, all that stuff. So I think that may also be another factor to it.
Yeah, you alluded to it in that there, but there are shows that we've maybe dipped a toe into and haven't finished that we're not going to include, or shows that we've wanted to catch but missed entirely. You mentioned stuff like Griselda, but are there any other shows that you're upset that you didn't get the time to watch enough of, or watch any of that probably would have contended for this year's list?
A lot of the Apple shows, from Constellation to what New Look, I think was what the other one was called.
Oh yeah, I've heard good things about New Look.
Statcast, you look at it, it's been getting good reviews. It's just they haven't popped off like that. Feud, Capote versus I forget what the women were called, but there's one on Hulu where it told a Capote story in that FX fashion, where it's like a one-season miniseries. There's a couple that are continuing right now that I think some of y'all may have on your list, so I'll save y'all to mention, name drop those. But I think one of the last ones would be the Sympathizer. I didn't start off strong with it. I think you've seen a couple more episodes. I never got back into it. I do want to. But again, another one that it seemed to have fizzled out, even with all of the, all of the talent behind it.
Yeah.
I think it wrapped. And not that it's not good. It's just another one that we didn't get to finish in time. Those would be my picks.
Amanda, any shows that you wished you had the time to catch but didn't get the chance to?
Or
finish?
I didn't get a chance to finish 3 Body Problem.
Me either. I'm 2 episodes into that.
Got a one body
it was
problem.
just like, didn't get far enough into it to include it. I've heard good things about Dark Matter. I didn't catch that.
Apple show, yeah.
Yeah, there's just always so much. I feel like, there's just like a lot going on right now. It's almost similar to like Broadway and theater, where I feel like there's a lot of really big name actors doing stuff. They're always doing stuff there, but I don't know, the last like year or two, it just feels like it's really ramped up in terms of like traditional celebrities on Broadway. And it just kind of feels like that for like actors that we've always seen as very much like movie actors are really working their way into like television shows and stuff. Doesn't even seem to be enough to make some of those shows stand out. So it's interesting. It's like there was a whole ass show with Nick Galitzine and
Julianne Moore.
But they put that on Stars, though. That's the problem.
That's the problem. Exactly. So I'm like, I don't even know if that's any good. It's very mixed reviews, but like, I don't know.
I'm interested in that one, though. Yeah, that one looked good.
Yeah. There's a couple shows that I've seen a little of. You mentioned 3 Body Problem. Shogun, I think it might get mentioned, but I've only seen the first episode of that. And I mean,
it is good.
Yeah. I mean, it seems so great. It's dense and it's long. I need to
and subtitles,
take the time to actually take the time to actually give it a proper watch, right? I watched the first couple episodes of Lulu Wang's Expats on Amazon Prime, and I thought it was actually pretty interesting. Like I don't know it got some mixed reviews, but I was enjoying at least what I saw of it. So I probably would circle back to that at some point.
Does it work well as a series? Because I remember the way they rolled that out for film festivals was like vignettes, that each episode was like a mini movie.
Yeah, well, so far it feels like it. I think there is a particular episode that is its own sort of bottle-ish kind of episode that is sort of almost tangentially related to the story, but I haven't even gotten to that point yet, so I don't know. So far, what I've seen, it seemed interesting. The ones that I haven't watched any of, though, are Abbott Elementary Season 3, which has been a favorite of ours. Interview with the Vampire Season 2. I keep hearing great things about this show. I'm not even sure what channel it's on right now. But
AMC Plus app.
That's probably why. Yeah.
Yeah. I got one from AMC too, Far North. AMC used to be the king in cable, and boy, have they not transitioned into streaming. It's sad to see, because they still have good shows.
Yeah. That Presumed Innocent show, like you mentioned, The Jinx Season 2 on HBO. There's a bunch of others, but we'll get into all of them. And before we get into our list, I think there are 3 major shows that we kind of should address at the top. Art, you already mentioned the first of them, but we're recording this episode on Wednesday, June 26th. It's about 1:30 p.m., which means that The Bear Season 3 will be on Hulu in 7.5 hours, a little less than that. Suffice to say, we haven't seen it yet. It won't appear on any of our lists, but seeing as we all had The Bear Season 1 in our top 10 of 2022, and then we all had The Bear Season 2 in our top 2 of 2023, I think this year probably would have made our lists, but, it just leaves more room for the other shows that we haven't had a chance yet to see The Bear. Unless y'all just want to, reserve a spot somewhere in the top 3 right now.
I'm reserving the spot, I said.
Secondly, House of the Dragon is currently airing its second season on HBO. I think we're all really enjoying... we all really enjoyed the first season. I think I had it on my top 10. I forget about y'all.
It was somewhere there for sure.
Yeah,
probably been higher with this rewatch recently. Yeah, no. House of Dragon 2 is easy ending up there, but we're in episode 2 barely. So
yeah, Amanda, you were saying you feel like it'll get there off of vibes, but maybe we're a little early.
That's why I said, okay, I'll leave it off the list for now because it's literally only 2 episodes in. But
we know it's gonna be on there. Come on.
Hopefully,
right?
Hopefully,
exactly.
But I'm sure we probably would have said that with the first time around, and then things died. So
for season 8, yeah, but that was season 8. We're not in season 8 yet.
This is like they got those boys out of here. The books. They do get the book. They got it. They know where it's going.
They're going full throttle on this, but it's pretty.
And if not, this is a document to like a precious moment in time before
when it was still good. Before the Starbucks bottles appear.
Lastly, The Curse aired 8 of its 10 episodes last year, but its incredible finale was early in 2024. Art, we both had it in our lists last year.
Yeah, I included.
You got it this year?
No, I included it last year. I can't be.
Yeah, same. So.
All right.
Hey, if only we could mention it, though.
Yeah, it would be good to mention it among the best shows of 2024. In fact, probably the best finale we've had in 2024. But
best finale, okay, all right, interesting.
You got an argument?
That tires Netflix. No, I don't have an argument so far.
But yeah, not on any of our lists. You have to go back to last year for that. All right, so we've talked about the shows that are not on our list. We should probably talk about the shows that are on our lists. But before we do, just a quick reminder that if you're enjoying this episode, be sure to give us a 5-star review on iTunes or on Spotify, or if you're checking this out on YouTube, you can like the video, leave us a comment, and be sure to consider subscribing to our channel. If you're listening, you can subscribe on whatever podcatcher you use. And you can also support the show by becoming a member for as little as $3 a month, whether that's on patreon.com/intercutpod or right here on YouTube, where you can click the join button and join up. You get all sorts of fun membership benefits, like early access to these videos, including this Best TV of the Year so far live stream.
Advanced screeners.
Exactly. A look at our movie brackets before we dive into them. A whole bunch of access to us, including an invite to our monthly patron hangs. It's cool. You should join up. Be an inner cutie. It's a fun gang. We enjoy talking movies and TV and stuff. But let's dive into the meat of the discussion. The best TV of the year 2024 so far. Arturo, do you want to start us off with your number 10?
At number 10, I have the first of 2 Netflix series on my list. Okay. This one's in black and white. And reinvents a book that was a movie that was a series again. You got it at 10?
Yeah.
Let's talk about Ripley then.
Let's talk about Ripley.
It is probably the best looking show. Maybe there's one more that I would put it up against because of its colors. But this is shot in complete black and white. The compositions, the performances and how they're able to capture them. Beautifully done all the way through its shadows, through its shadowy figures. Just the idea of this kind of being like a con man version of a Sherlock Holmes. He's got this kind of psych mentality where he's calculating everything in real time. I think makes it a joy to watch, even if you haven't read or know anything about all the other adaptations out there. I like the older man Ripley take on it too. I think that's a flip on what we know from The Talented Mr. Ripley, where he's a lot younger. But overall, I thought it was really good performances all around. And I feel like we're in this era right now. I know this is a show, but with Nosferatu coming out, these very not want to say dreadful, but very moody lighting
Yeah.
that affects the characters.
Yeah.
It's almost like you're in their headspace.
Brooding.
Brooding.
Very
That's the word. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And I thought this was excellently done. Ripley over on Netflix.
Yeah, I agree. I was like very hesitant to get into it. I like both the book and I just really like the Matt Damon version. I think it's a fantastic movie. It's probably one of the best movies, like definitely one of the best book adaptations that's out there. So I'm always like, really, we're gonna do it again? Because there was even like there's an adaptation before that Matt Damon one, and it's like it's Patricia Highsmith. Her novels are just like very well known and very, adapted. But so I was
Plus, the Matt Damon movie holds up really well.
That's
like,
exactly
it's one of those things
it.
that really doesn't need a remake.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So I do really appreciate the way, as Art was saying, like that the newer take with like the slightly older, just mildly different vibes, that it still has exactly what you're expecting from the story, but like just like enough minor changes to justify its existence, and like the fact that it's a series versus a movie. I think there is like a lot of creativity behind that. So yeah, it's really good, really solid, really well done.
Yeah, I have Ripley a bit higher on my list. We'll get to
yeah.
that later. My number 10, I was choosing between a couple returning comedies that I really love, and I decided that Art's definitely going to cover one of them. So I'm going to give a little bit of love to season 3 of Girls 5 Eva on Netflix. It jumped over from Peacock to Netflix, but I think it's just a really hilarious joke machine, just delivering rapid fire punchlines from really, really hilarious people, whether that's Renee Elise Goldsberry giving like a hilarious modernized Jenna Maroney performance, or Paula Pell in just an absolutely hilarious, like aging a weirdo lesbian character that she plays. The whole gang is really, really fun on Girls 5 Eva. It's a really short season, and I'm hoping that it's something that Netflix will continue to expand upon and not just like leave out to die after 6 episodes. But yeah, it just is reliably hilarious. I laugh more at that whole like Tina Fey, Robert Carlock vibe than I do most modern comedies. So I do want to include it here in my top 10.
And they saved it, right? Netflix? This is the season
they
that...
saved it.
This is the season they saved, but although I don't know if they are yet confirmed to come back for 4. I hope they
saved
are.
it to kill it?
Yeah, I hope not, right? But we'll see. For now, you can watch it and enjoy season 3. Let's go back to Art for his number 9.
And number 9 is the only one that I haven't finished. But X-Men 97 literally tapped into what I consider to be exactly what my Tosa Strudel weekend morning cartoon days were all about.
Yeah.
I didn't finish Invincible either, but from what I saw a lot of Invincible, for season 2, I think this is doing that animation better. I think the colors pop out a lot more. I think you feel the physics of it. I think they've been able to embody all the characters well, and I just find it hilarious that Marvel had to dip all the way back to X-Men 97 to be able to have the best thing that they have out right now. Like, so much is relying on that Deadpool movie, but they actually had probably the best Marvel series to come out so far. I think this trumps even all the live action ones.
Yeah, I just maintain that it's the same thing with Sony. Something about it being animated makes them not care as much, so people just get more creative control just to do things that are actually good. Because it's the same thing with Spider-Verse. It's higher on my list, so we'll talk about it again. Or we can just get it out of the way now. Whatever you think, Zach.
Whatever you want to do.
Yeah,
No,
let's just
talk
talk
about it
about it now, because you are, it's like quite a bit higher, but like you already went in on it, so I'll just, I'm a huge X-Men fan. Like, that's always my thing. Yeah, exactly. That's been my ringtone since I was able to have a ringtone on my phone.
Damn.
That intro, yeah, like I love it. I don't have much faith that I'd be able to do much in terms of like adapting things, but if somebody was like, we would like an X-Men Evolution television show, I feel like I could do that. I feel like I could I love X-Men.
I'm gonna try
So I was worried. I was worried about this, especially where it's like, really, like that show ended and you're gonna like bring it back, but it's good. And I feel like if you haven't seen the original, you can still watch this and like really appreciate it and love it. I don't think it's necessary to have seen the original run, but it's just so good. It's so good. And I'm just so happy it exists because I do know that like Marvel is one of those studios like Netflix that was stockpiling stuff. It's just that their track record's so rough right now that they've really been like putting things aside or reshooting things or canceling things. So it's nice to have something kind of stand out on the other side that's actually good.
And it blends well for those who have the nostalgia of it, and like Amanda was saying, those who don't. So you can come into it feeling like it's fresh, like it's this retro thing with the number, like a Blade Runner with its year, and it fits perfectly where it can be something that someone's having a flashback or callback to, and to a regular person's like, nah, this looks sick right here, and I'll be calling back to this moment until I realize where it's actually from. You can make shows that are that cohesive, and I think this is perfectly that. No disrespect to Invincible. If it's on Zach's list, I know he liked it. I gotta finish that one too.
I had it as an honorable mention.
Actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Babe, it's still good cartoons this year.
Good cartoons.
Definitely. All right. Shout out cartoons. I don't know. Do we have any more cartoons showing up later on our list?
That was my only one.
I got some cartoony figures, I guess.
Wait, so none of us has Smiling Friends?
Which one? None of us have what?
Smiling Friends? I know a lot of people are really into Smiling Friends right
That's
now.
my number 12.
Oh.
Do you know about Smiling Friends?
Like a little bit. I know that its reputation
Amanda, I'm not sure if I can recommend that to you. Zach, I know exactly what time of the day I'm going to recommend that to you.
Okay, I understand.
Smiling Friends is absurd, bro. No, it got me. It's one of those ones that's so creepy when you're watching it on Adult Swim. You're like, I don't know what this is. What college bro? Turn on the TV, set it to this. For sure. Don't get me wrong. But they'll do this stuff with the animation because it's mixed media.
Oh.
And it's not just for the giggles of it. It'll be a part of a story. I'm not going to describe it to you until you watch it. And you're just going to be like, one of you guys just said no one cares about the animations, so they let them do whatever?
Yeah, that was me.
Hi, how you doing? That is Smiling Friends. Nobody is there watching what they're planning for these episodes.
Oh, God.
All right.
They're messed up, bro.
I'll have to report back then.
Dude, there's even cameos in there you're not going to expect from YouTubers.
Okay.
I'll tell y'all after. I don't want to spoil it.
Okay, cool.
Watch it.
All right, so Smiling Friends number 12 on Art's list. X-Men 97 number 9 on his list. Amanda, what is 9 on your top 10?
I feel like my top, like the 4 of these could really jump around a lot, but I think I landed on Dead Boy Detectives at number 9.
Dude, tell me. I've been hearing Rex for that. Yeah.
So it's like not a spin-off, but it's like, well, yeah, technically it exists in the same universe as the Sandman. So like Neil Gaiman's Sandman. It's like in the Sandman universe, there's like a comic that deals with the Dead Boy Detectives. So this is like them just on their own thing. And it really just has this Umbrella Academy-ish meets like Supernatural, but like more posh kind of, because like they're British. Right. And it just has a very interesting vibe of these, like they're like these 2 young men who died who are now ghost detectives basically, getting involved in like supernatural shit. And it's just really good. I feel like it's like a show that I have like really high because I enjoy watching it now, but I know if I'd seen it when I was younger, I probably would have been like super obsessed with it, like in high school. So I always want to give that like the extra nod for the inner childhood. So I thought it's like really good, solid performances. I like the visuals a lot. It might be like a bit dark, and I don't know if that's just like where I've been watching it, but like I just think it looks really good. Okay. And it just has a very unique vibe to it, and I just appreciate vibes in shows.
I just did a quick Google on it. Is our boy Lucas Gage in this?
Yes, he is. Lucas Gage is in it. Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Stay implied.
Cat King, I think. Yeah, Cat King. Yeah.
Is he a cat king?
He is a cat king. He's the king of cats. No, it's it's good. It's good. It's solid.
All right. Dead Boy Detectives on Netflix, number 9 on Amanda's list. Number 9 on my list. Art, do you have Ted anywhere on your top 10?
That's why I said I still got one more cartoon.
Oh my God.
Kind of, right? All right. So
I totally forgot that was a thing.
All right, my number 9, Ted season 1. Did not expect this to make my top 10 at all. I didn't expect to really watch it.
I'm surprised. Yeah.
You forced me to watch it.
Yeah,
it's really funny.
I sat him down. I gave him my Ted. I said, "You're gonna sit there and you're gonna watch this."
Yeah.
Bro,
so
how do you do it?
Though, because look, I really enjoy the first Ted movie, so I wasn't like that I didn't object to it that much, but I don't know. I think they like found kind of a fun formula here with the character where he's not like too obnoxious, and you get to play through some kind of like sitcom tropes that don't necessarily feel as tired. I just think that there are as is like par for the course in something from Seth MacFarlane, there are tons of jokes. It's littered with jokes. But the hit rate here is pretty high.
Yeah. It's also a really well done story because it's them having grown up with each other before the movies. So it's supposed to be like a young Wahlberg. It's supposed to be a young Ted, I guess, as well. But like what he does here, considering that the movies are stuff that they didn't come out that long ago, but people would say that they have, maybe not aged as gracefully, whatever. No, this feels same par for the course, the exact same type of jokes, and it pretty much embarrasses anyone who's out there going, we can't do comedy anymore. This man did everything he did in Ted 1 and 2. In an even worse way here. But the thing is, it's how, and again, it's how MacFarlane's able to do it where it's not the butt of the joke. I think it's another one with Tires that I had as an honorable mention, I guess, to kind of combine it here. That's another show that's able to bring up a lot of stuff that people have found funny. Race-based jokes, sexuality-based jokes, a lot of jokes that aren't necessarily bad. It's just obviously a lot of people push them to the brink of them not being jokes but being insults, and then the idea of it playing on a stereotype or what would make the punchline funny has kind of disappeared. Not for shows like Ted, not for shows like Tires that are able to actually bring it to the forefront and even kind of comment on stuff. I think it elevates the story. It showcases the growth and degrowth in Ted. I thought the animation worked beautifully too. Like they have that thing down pat. Ted's all over the place for 8 episodes, and I know it was an event series, but they even renewed it for a season 2. So yeah, I'm curious to see where they take it.
Nice.
Amanda, did you catch Ted?
No, I didn't. I actually totally forgot that was a thing until this very moment.
Well, they're bringing it back, so you got a chance to get on your
flight. When you start looking up best TV shows of the year so far, just to make sure you're not missing out on anything. Right. It's one of those ones that's not necessarily going to make it there.
Nope, not on a lot of people's lists, but we got it here on Intercut.
We got it here.
Yeah. So Ted, season 1 from Peacock. It's my number 9. Art, what do you have at number 8? Oh, is your number 6?
Yeah.
Nice. What do you have at number 8?
At number 8, I have another comedy, the one that you said you weren't able to catch up on, but I would argue while it's not its strongest season on season 3, it's still pretty good. Abbott Elementary. They have been building up on the storyline that is Janine, our main teacher, having to decide whether she's going to stay at the school, whether she's going to go to become a part of the district, or where is she going to help the kids the most. I don't know who thought this was a surprise element to it, because she's going to stay at Abbott Elementary. Like, that's not even for the character. That's just for her. Like, I got to be at Abbott Elementary. It's my baby.
Yeah, it's like when they tried to say, like, Pam might go be an artist or something. It's like, no, Pam's going to come back. Pam's going to be at Dunder Mifflin, Like.
Thank you. It's the exact same thing, because that's the one thing that I've said. Abbott has been in the shadow of The Office for the longest time. It uses a lot of the same techniques. They've got the love story thing going on here as well. What's his name from Everybody Hates Chris? He's like opening stuff, but he won't show you what it's. I'm like, really? We're gonna pull a Pam and Jim as well.
Yeah,
they're following a lot of the same beats, and that's why I would have it lower. But even in those moments where it's homaging, it's still really cute. It's still doing a really good job with it, and then it still has a lot of originality. There are a lot of characters that now get to shine up in the forefront. They get their own episodes. The lore, I guess, if you want to call it that, is getting deeper, because they'll do those, like what Broad City does, where it's callbacks to season 1. Things that you thought were just one-offs are now getting built up upon, secret rooms and stuff like that. So nice. It's still been a very fun season, and I'm very curious to see where they continue taking it. Abbott Elementary, season 3.
Yeah, Abbott Elementary is always a nice, pleasant hang. Definitely I'm going to make some time for it as soon as I can.
It's the lowest of my comedies? It's crazy.
Yeah. Damn.
I have Ted above it, though.
All right, so Abbott Elementary, number 8 on Art's top 10 of the year so far. Amanda, what do you have at number 8 on your list?
I'm going to go ahead and put The Gentleman, which is based off of the Guy Ritchie movie.
The Gentleman?
Yeah, The Gentleman. It's the Gentleman show based off the Gentleman movie.
Which has nothing to do
with
the
Ministry
of Ungentlemanly Warfare.
Men.
Right.
Yeah, warfare.
Cool.
Yeah, not that one.
But this is the Gentlemanian
But oddly
spin-off, right?
enough, probably feels a little bit more in line with that than the tone of the actual Gentleman movie. But no, I was like a big fan of the Gentleman movie, like more so than most people
remember,
were. Like
yeah.
I had a really good time with it. So I was pretty excited for this one. And like right out the gate, the vibes are a little bit different to the point that it almost feels like it doesn't need to be a gentleman show, but I haven't finished it yet, so maybe it shouldn't be here. But like just as it's kind of progressing into it, I'm just having like a really good time. I like the comedy style. I like the actors in it. I like the way it does the, you know, you have a character freaking out about something and then it like does like the flashback to like why they're freaking out about it and kind of like pulling them back and forth between the present and like the past like that. So I'm just having a good time with it so far. Yeah, I like it. I think it's a good idea. Yeah.
Is it a prequel? Is it a retelling of the story? A follow-up?
No. It's just like off in its own. It's like same universe, kind of like extended.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. As far as I'm aware, there's really no...
They could cross them if you
like,
wanted to.
Kind of, because it's really focusing on this like... It's like that weed... It's like the common thing is like the weed empire type thing is like, because that's like in
That's
the
what the Gentleman is?
That's like part of it.
I never saw the movie either. I just remember they sold their own, they sold their own bourbon or whiskey or whatever they had.
Yeah, there's no connection
all
to
I know about
previous
the movie.
characters, apparently.
Yeah, there's no... Yeah, I was like, I'm pretty
Okay.
sure, like, I'm not done, so maybe it does a thing where, like, midway through it pulls a fucking Argyle where it
Part of the
mentions, like,
Kingsman? I was about to say the same thing.
the fucking states... Yeah, because it kind of feels a little bit like the Kingsman, whereas, like, if the Gentleman was more like the fanciness by way of people like Eggy, this would be, like, the Gentleman by way of, like, an aristocratic family, but they have a weed thing. So it's like it just picks up with like some guy's dad dying and the money being given to like not the oldest son and the oldest son fucking flipping out that it's like, this is my fucking birthright type thing. And no, it's good. Yeah.
Who did Argyle?
Matthew Vaughn.
Oh, Matthew Vaughn.
Yeah, who used to be Guy Ritchie's producing partner back in the
And you
Lock,
can
Stock,
feel
and Two
it.
Smoking Barrels.
I knew
Barrels.
there
Yeah.
was something there. Yeah, that's why
Yeah.
they connect so much. But that man really
You can
reskinned
feel it.
Kingsman after he got like canceled for that series and said, well, what if I tell it from this perspective? Really
But
thought he
then
was going to get away with
it's
it.
still dumb. It's still dumb.
so
I just feel
dumb.
bad for the Mark Miller is going to be like, well, I guess I just don't own this
It's
anymore.
terrible,
It's just not mine.
Only good thing about Argyle, Alina's wearing the Denver shirt. It's the only thing being able to have screened it with Zach in
I
Denver.
wish I could have gone. When my shit started
that
getting
was fun,
canceled,
yeah.
I was like, I'm going to go to Denver too. You know?
No.
Yeah.
Argyle,
The Gentleman,
yes,
I
yes.
that's another one of the ones where I caught one episode of it and
Yeah.
didn't have time to go back to it, but it seemed pretty fun. Theo James
Yeah.
is pretty good in it.
That's
Yes, that's the name I couldn't think
Yeah.
of. Yeah, I couldn't think of that.
Yeah, I was a bit surprised to see. I don't know if y'all saw. He got invited to the Comedy Actors Roundtable recently. Like
I
he's
did see
funny on this and White Lotus. I don't know if I'd start calling him a comedy actor though.
No, not specifically. No,
Not specifically, not really.
I don't
Anyway,
know. The Divergent series does get pretty funny, but I don't.
Time Traveler's Wife gets pretty funny.
Yeah. Oh God.
all right. So The Gentleman's. That's Amanda's number 8 pick. My number 8.
Yes,
Art,
yes.
do you have the Vince Staples show?
Number 5.
All right. Do you want to talk about it now?
Let's go.
Vince Staples show. Vince, who is probably one of the funnier public figures we have that wasn't in movies and TV for a while, finally sort of unleashing that humor in a sort of absurd, at times existential, but at times slapsticky show for Netflix. It's got some vibes of Atlanta, although I feel like it leans into the humor a bit more than Atlanta tends to. There's just some like really incredible episodes of the show. The bank robbery sequence in particular
What's it
is just
called?
one of my favorite. The Vince Staples show.
Oh,
Staples.
it's just called the
did I
Vince
ask-
Staples Show. Okay.
Yeah.
No, you
I don't know
said
if
that,
I-
but I thought you were
No,
saying like.
but she was like, what's it called though? You know?
Yeah, I thought you were
Yeah.
like the Emma Darcy
Like the
show.
Theo-
the
the
House
Theo
of the
James
Dragon.
show.
The Theo James show.
Yeah, the Theo James show. Yeah. Okay.
No,
Sorry,
it's the
continue.
Vince Staples show.
Okay, my bad,
It's
my
so
bad.
funny.
No. Yeah,
Because he's
just
playing himself.
That's
It's
the
about
thing.
him just
Okay,
going about
okay.
his daily life and the absurdity of what happens when you're famous, but not famous enough. Too famous
Right.
that you might be caught outside and it could be dangerous for you, but not famous enough where you're not going to cut the line at somewhere.
That's fair.
It's
Gotcha.
fascinating perspective.
Yeah, and just the
I
way
like
that
that.
he's able to blend worlds, blend perspectives, sort of transcend through like what feels like should be a like societal norm, and kind of just subvert it in really funny ways. There's a lot of really clever stuff happening on the show. So I'm hoping that we continue to stay in that world and we get some more Vince Staples show in the future.
What has he been? He did the White Man Can't Jump remake, which he was. I'm not blaming him for that. He was an Insecure. I think he played himself in Insecure. I was listening to Law of Averages this morning too. His new album is fantastic. We were talking about it with the Intercuties as well.
Government
we almost
cheese.
died in a storm driving back with all the rain we've been getting, and we would have died listening to Vince Staples' discography. So that kept us through it. But he was also in Abbott Elementary. I think that's where he really started getting a lot of his acting chops as well.
Yes.
Being in those shows. So when he finally came to do this, I think he's making his own like Curb Your Enthusiasm, where you follow Larry in that show doing stuff like meeting with Hulu and things. And he's kind of doing the same thing here. He's peeling back the layers to show you not just his regular life, but what it's like to be in the industry as well. When he's trying to make music, just trying to get home. It's
Nice.
a very good show. It's like his own little Bob's Burgers, where at the end of the day he comes home and his girl asks him, "How was today?" And he's like that. He was probably in a bank robbery. He was probably in a car crash. Like all these different things could have happened, and he just comes home and he tells her, nothing much. Fantastic show. Zach's number 8, my number 5. Definitely catch it.
Nice.
There we go.
Probably the only show I rewatched. Like,
Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
yeah,
Nice.
I think I rewatched it with you. Or we watched it together, and then I watched it like as soon as you had left. It like
nice.
immediately.
Oh, nice.
Nice. Vince Staples show over on Netflix. Art, let's go back to you for your number 7.
Pure comedies here. Funny guy. Went from Abbott to Hacks season 3. Ted, then Vince Staples. So number 7, I gotta go Hacks. I've had the previous seasons a little higher, but Hacks has returned when it was supposed to be a cancellation, when I guess all the HBO boogeymen were like, "You're gonna go," and the other 2 was gone. And they ended season 2 in this kind of cliffhanger thing where after them partnering in season 1, this legendary comedian known as Deborah Vance, and then I'm blinking on what Hannah's character is, who ends up becoming a writer, and they end up becoming, who? Ava. They end up becoming these 2 peas in a pod. By season 2, she tells her, like, go do your own thing, and Deborah wants to go seek out this Tonight Show thing, and they kind of end it where, like, they've split, they've hit their peak, they're going to go their own separate ways, and you can tell, like, they were told, we may not bring you back for another season. They did bring them back for another season, and now this season kind of ends like they knew they were getting another season. So it's a little weird push and pull. This whole season is them reuniting and really trying to get that Tonight Show slot so that she stops doing these big comedy shows and tries to get, like, you know, a late night talk show, which is the thing that she's always wanted. And you've seen that since season 1. I think the comedy is still there. It's firing on all cylinders. They get into a lot of social media aspects because now that she wants to be big, all of her past is coming back into play. And then you've got, you know, Ava doing the stuff Ava does. But again, it does feel like a precursor to where they want to have season 4 at. So that's why I have it a little bit lower. But it's still funny.
Yeah, I have Hacks at number 5 on my list because, like you, I think it is one of the best recurring comedies that we have on TV. I really love the dynamic between Hannah Einbender and
Who are the other 2?
Gene Smart.
Who are the other 2, dude?
Oh, Meg Stalter and Paul Downs.
Oh, Mick Stalter, yeah.
They have their own storyline this season, and it is goofy.
Yeah, and there's some times where I feel like they almost lean on those characters a little too much because I want to stay more in the world of the comedians. You know, I think the way this season started out was really exciting because it sort of hinted at kind of growth in their relationship because Ava was ascending in the world of comedy, and then, as is kind of in the world of the show, they sort of regressed to their familiar dynamics for most of the middle of the season.
Yeah.
But as Art mentioned, I feel like they've left themselves off in a really interesting place for season 4 going forward. So I wouldn't be surprised to see season 4 feel like very fresh, very exciting, and maybe land higher on our lists. But this also felt like maybe my least... in the least I've enjoyed a season of Hacks, even though it's still hilarious. I still love the dynamic. It's good enough to be number 5 on my list. But I want to see the dynamic continue to evolve as the show continues on.
Agree with you. Third of the season, but still a top 10 show.
Amanda, a show whose main character is a lesbian and you're not putting it on the list?
I know. I saw the first episode around South by Southwest because I think it premiered there. And then I kind
season
of
3,
yeah, and then I kind of forgot that it was a thing.
Also, she's bi, Zach. That's the whole joke.
That's okay.
My bad.
I'm fine with bi. I'm joking. I can't even finish that sentence. Not in Pride Month. No.
Don't worry, this episode will end after Pride's over.
Oh.
Air. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm ashamed of myself that I haven't watched it. Oh, no.
Well, you've got 6 more months for you to catch
It's
up
true.
before the end of the year list. So, Hacks, number
And a year
7
before next Pride. You got it.
on Art's list,
got
number
it.
5
I'll do
on my
better.
list. Let's go back to Amanda and find out why Hacks isn't her number 7.
Because my other love, vampires, take the spot with Interview with the Vampire.
Okay, cool.
What we do in the shadows hasn't come back yet, so I had to find something else to fill the slot. But yeah, I finally caught up on Interview with the Vampire because
Cool.
I'm actually one of the people, like, I loved that movie when I was younger. It came out when I was like 13 or something, so I was like prime age. It was like that and X2. I was like, let's go, I'm so cool. And it's like years later, you're like, oh, okay, maybe not the best, but the show holds up. The show is good. I literally have. So I'm not even done season 2 yet. It's not done yet. It's still airing, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I'm not. I don't think I'm fully caught up yet, but like literally within the last like couple weeks, I've like gone all through season 1 and then like mostly caught up with season 2, and it's just like really good. It's an interesting take on the story. It's keeping it like really fresh and adapting it well for kind of like a more modern age, but it's still kind of, in my opinion, nailing the characters because I also like read the book back then too. So yeah, it's just like it's solid television, and it's nice that it's like, I was kind of worried going into season 2 whether or not it could like hold it up, but yeah, I like it. It's just kind of an interesting take on it where they're like, I think it's like Dubai for like a part of it, and it's just like interesting take as to where you're sending people for what's considered like a viable place for a vampire to be chilling. So
Right.
yeah.
I've heard really incredible things about the show. It's one that I want to catch up with. I guess at some point I'll get an AMC Plus subscription.
Right?
Hey.
All right, but I'm glad that
there's
somebody
ways.
can cover it for us. So, Amanda, Interview with a Vampire at number 7 on
'Cause
your
it
list.
also embraces the queer elements that are in there that Anne Rice tried to distance herself from a while, but now I think she's okay with it now. I don't know. I don't know.
Bi vampires?
Good to know.
No, she went really, bi vampires, yeah. Gay vampires, bi vampires, just, she went really Christian for a bit and like denounced all of her work, and now I think she's come back around. I don't know.
She Kanye'd?
Yeah, she a little bit.
It just makes sense for vampires to be bi, no?
Yeah,
That's their
sexy
whole thing,
vampires.
right?
You can't make sexy vampires and not have them just be like indulgently sexy, you know? Like, yeah, they're indulgent in every other area.
I mean, yeah,
All right.
they suck off like pretty much. That's
Yeah.
the thing.
Yeah,
Vampires.
you're sucking off here. They gotta suck off. Yeah. I'm sorry. The movie was gay too. Interview with the Vampire was gay. Oh yeah, when I was talking about thinking it was. I meant Queen of the Damned when I said when I was 13. Queen of the Damned came out when I was 13. Interview with the Vampire, the movie, did not come out when I was 13. I think I was 4. That was like 1994. Like I don't know. Like come on. Sorry, but like that universe, that whole
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
The characters.
All right, so from the show about bi vampires to a show that would probably make fun of the idea of it, my number 7 I was not expecting to have on my list, but I got Tires, season 1. Shane Gillis's tire shop hangout show, just kind of like a fun, jokey environment. I think it's just a great kind of environment for a workplace sitcom, and that they have established like a pretty fun dynamic with the characters. I'm just looking forward to hanging out more with the show. I think there's just a lot of good jokes in it, a lot of button pushy stuff too. That's, I don't know, not always my favorite, but like I went into it very skeptical, and I just thought that it felt authentic, and it won me over in a way. So I'm hoping for the best because it's gonna come back for season 2.
Yeah, that's great. Before it was even released, they had done that season 2 greenlit. It's also fast. You start it, you're done. You're done before
Yeah.
the sun
Shit.
goes down. It's so
Oh,
fast.
nice.
It
Yeah,
kind
favorite
of feels like they could recut it and just turn it into like an indie comedy. You
Oh,
know?
cool.
Yes.
I
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
like that. Because they also don't do the thing where it's like another sitcom workplace thing. We're going to make it like The Office. There's no cameras there. These guys are poor. They're just trying to survive. Every single episode is a pitch on how they can get sales before they get shut down.
Yeah.
Before they realize the idea of what they could possibly do. And they're
Okay.
all idiots. They're all morons. I don't know if
I
you have
feel
a
like-
favorite moron, but I'm going Stavros.
Yeah, Stavros. I think he's so funny
He's
on the
so-
show. It's
so
I feel
goofy.
like this is like theater camp for the straightest dude you know, right?
Oh,
How so?
Like just sort of like
that style comedy.
the
Just,
personalities of this environment and the sort of loose nature of the jokes. Like the jokes don't really feel like the jokes; they just feel like the characters interacting. I don't know. Maybe that's a weird take.
Hacks is a little bit like theater camp too. I was gonna say they're all like theater camp.
Yeah, everything's like theater camp. All right,
Don't be
my number
mean to
seven.
him.
Tires is a good one.
Yeah, my number 7 is Tires. Art, you had that in your honorable mentions. You
Who's your
had
favorite character?
probably Stavros also, or whatever the main dude's name who co-created the show. I forget his name right now.
The guy who's
Tires.
the manager, the son who owns the thing. He's
Yeah.
dude. He's
John
like
McKeever?
season.
Or is that the director?
Whatever his name is. Yeah, he's like season 1 of Steve Carell from The Office. Like before
Yeah.
he becomes
Okay.
lovable, he's obnoxious.
Okay.
This guy's
Yeah,
too
yeah.
stupid for his own good.
Steve Gerben. Does
Oh
that
my!
sound
He
right?
plays it too well.
Yeah, Steve Gerben.
He's so dumb.
He's very funny on the show.
Nice.
Anyway, Tires. That's my number 7. Art, we already found out your number 6 was Ted, season 1.
Yes, sir.
So, Amanda, what is your number 6?
I'm like extra breaking rules. I don't think we're necessarily far enough along in this, but I'm putting it here anyways. I'm going with The Boys. Again, because vibes. I like the vibes. I don't think this is so far. So it's weird that this is high on my list, but I don't think it's quite as strong so far as previous installments would have been at this point in the run.
Be careful when
Uh,
you say that. People flip out because you can't
I
critique
know.
anything anymore. Lord forbid.
I know. And again, it's almost like the Acolyte, where there are like critiques that in some like I agree with, just not in the way that you're saying it. Like,
But
Yeah.
then you can't say it, right? Because it's gotten a phase. They
Yeah.
pep at it. They pep at
Yeah.
arguments all the time where they take
Yeah.
something that is an argument, but because everyone's so used to it coming from a certain place
Yeah.
of hate, then you can't
but-
ever
and they-
express
but
it
they-
anymore.
And those ones are being the hate, but it's just like, no, I can say that like some of the stuff with Frenchie is fine if that's an introduced thing. I don't think that's outside the bounds of the character at all. To me,
sure.
it's the way it was introduced and how, well, not even the way, it's just how quickly, and it was just to by way of basically making more drama
Right?
specifically for him as a character,
Yeah.
which historically, when you start causing dramas that are too far outside the central scope of what the show's supposed to be
Tell 'em.
like, it gets too convoluted, a little bit too messy for something that isn't supposed to be like a character drama involving all these people. It is like a guided drama around specific issues. So like the later seasons of Dexter ran into this too, where suddenly like every individual side character needed a very strong quest to go on that had nothing to do with like the central theme or point of the show. So like there are some issues there, but I still think it's like a really fun show. I'm kind of interested just to see the progression that Homelander's still currently going on.
Still the best.
Still the best. Some stuff like that. So while it's not as strong, and also it's just kind of interesting that there was like a thing brought up in last week's episode that is kind of paralleling some stuff that's currently going on in the streaming community. So it was like really interesting to see, because people are like, oh, that's such an exaggeration, that would never happen. But we're like kind of watching it happen with someone in real time right now, not to that extent, but in a similar way. So it's just really interesting that as much as people want to complain about it being too ridiculous, at how much it accurately does seem to portray certain aspects of society, whether people want to see it or not, including the people who don't want to see it. That's the funny part. It's like, yo, you don't realize that this has been making fun of you the entire time. But yeah, I like it. I like The Boys. It's significantly better than the comic book it is based off of. I do kind of think it probably should have ended at the end of last season. I think they had that set up really well. But I'd like that they're like, season 5, we're done. So I
hope so.
I have hope. They've
Yeah.
said it. So I hope that, Yeah.
Oh, he said he wanted to go longer. Then they went, "You lied. You said it was gonna be 5." And then he's like, "Okay, I'll make it. I'll make it 5."
Which is, yeah. To be fair, the creators of Supernatural said the same thing after season 5, and then those guys left, and they kept going for another 10 seasons. So but
studios be studioing. I think.
If he wants to keep going, they've got Gen V, and I'm sure they can fit.
But that's on hiatus now too. That was supposed to be filmed and ready to come out next year, and now it's in an indefinite hiatus because of Chance Padermo.
I think they filmed something with him too, because the next episode's supposed to have him. Again, from when we're filming right now, I think they're going to be included very soon. But Zach and I had a conversation about it, and a lot of people you can't critique it. I think one of the funniest comments was, "I hate hearing people complain about just watch something and then you come out here and complain. That's ridiculous." I'm like, did you not just watch our video and then complain? Okay, this is a little beyond the pay grade there, I guess, meta. At that point. But right after the first 2 episodes that I had some critiques on, episode 3 comes in and delivers one of my favorite Homelander scenes probably of the series so far. And I think Anthony Starr, we had said it in previous seasons when we put it on our list here as well, that he has stood out so well. Just like I wouldn't even compare it to other superhero actors. I just think in general that man should have gotten an Emmy nomination a while ago. He delivers an incredible scene in the basement where I think he spends the entire episode as well. It was some really good stuff. So again, even with this not being my favorite season, it's still delivering on things, and it is okay to critique things, even if it's your favorite thing.
Yeah.
Ironically, the people who love this because it's not Marvel are now acting like the Marvel fans didn't want.
They are. Yes, they
buddy.
are.
Buddy.
But
I haven't had a chance to see any of season 4 yet, but when any of us are critiquing this show in particular, we're doing it because I think we all have really enjoyed a lot of what the show has offered. And it's only in seeing the disparity between The Boys at its height and The Boys when it's not quite delivering as much, where we want to see it be its best. But we're still tuning in, and we're still anticipating more. So
we're also haters paid out by VOT.
Exactly. But Amanda, you got it at number 5 or 6. Excuse me, number 6 on your list, reserving the right to move it off if you end up jumping ship on the show.
Should have had it at 7. The 7?
Right. It took me a second.
I know. I should have.
Cool.
Well, damn. Switch him, Zach. Switch him around.
All right. So number 6 on my list, I am going with Mr. and Mrs. Smith on Prime. This is a show that I was I was hotly anticipating it because I think, it's the movie has such like an iconic place in pop culture, and it's such a fun idea, but the movie is also not without flaws, and this felt like a chance to take what's a really cool idea and maybe refine it with some really talented actors. Like, I didn't even really mind the switch from Phoebe Waller-Bridge to Maya Erskine. I think Maya Erskine is really incredible. The show came out, and it is such like an off-speed pitch that I feel like a lot of people were not prepared for it. It replaces the like fun, sexy, sort of dynamicism of that original movie with a more like Xanax-pilled, sort of sleepy sensuality between the characters, and so much of it is involved in this like interesting kind of like freelance world of modern the spy organization of Hi that like I didn't really know
this is where Hi is from.
Yeah, that's what Hi is from.
Okay, gotcha.
That I didn't know what to make of it at first, but the longer I spent time with it, the more I got into its rhythms of sort of critiquing the modern dynamic of workplace culture, of working yourself to like dangerous levels of putting yourself in danger just for these capitalistic gains. The dynamic between Donald Glover and Maya Erskine's characters, John and Jill, as they develop this sort of weird workplace relationship / is it a real life relationship? And it's got a lot of really good performances, really good humor. It's shot really well. The locations are pretty incredible in the show. I've really enjoyed my time with it. It's not the show that I was expecting, but there's a lot of merits in it. So yeah, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, number 6 on my list. We start
excited to get to it.
We start the top 5 with Art, and he already told us it's the Vince Staples show taking up that spot. So let's go back to Amanda for her number 5.
I think I'm gonna go with Manhunt.
Ooh.
Here, Manhunt.
Apple TV?
Which, yeah, the Apple TV show. I don't know. As a Canadian, I do feel like we do tend to learn a little bit more about America, but I actually just didn't know that, like, the guy who killed Abraham Lincoln was on the run. I didn't realize that was a thing. I
didn't either, to be honest.
And I didn't realize
and for that long.
Yeah, and I also didn't realize that kind of like was used, that really set back. So everybody's like, yeah, Lincoln freed the slaves, but then that it almost immediately was kind of almost undone the second, and how many people were pushing for things to change back immediately. Like, that's just not something that I was ever taught or aware of. So that's very interesting to me in how things can be framed, and it makes me think about like what might happen down the line in, like, I don't know, like 70 years, how people might frame certain things that are happening now,
right,
and how quickly you think it might happen. Like, I'm not trying to say it's like the same scale, but just kind of like how long it took between like 9/11 and Bin Laden being killed, like how many years that was. Some people thinking that might have been like a really quick instant thing because of how quick the reaction was, but like,
yeah, well, the way that history can reduce things to like the highlight reel almost.
The highlight reel. So you just know that these things happen, and yeah, no, I just think it was an interesting show with some like really good performances and a significantly better example of what asthma looks like than The Strangers Chapter 1. So for that, I had to put it as an asthmatic child. I had to put it there.
Yeah, it's shot very well too.
It is shot very well. Yeah, it looks good. I like Apple TV. Apple makes good shows. Like,
right, like what Netflix is to those like blurred out cameras with the like, I don't even, that vignette look that they have. Every single one looks the same.
Yeah.
That Apple ProRes or whatever they're doing over there, all the shows look incredible.
They're doing their shit, you know? Yeah.
Definitely. This just seems like a really great concept for a show, right? We have so many shows that are kind of like the real life crime story or like the investigation of the murder, and juxtapose or like putting that template across like this historical moment seems like a perfect concept for this type of prestige TV. Another one that I only watched the first episode of, but with your recommendation, I'll probably come back to it. It's been on my list.
Yeah, you had like mentioned it, and then I just like blew through whatever was available and then kept up with it. Yeah.
Nice. All right, so Amanda's number 5 is Manhunt. I already mentioned my number 5 is Hacks, season 3. So Art, let's go back to you for your number 4.
My number 4 is a series based on a movie that they decided to make, I believe, an ongoing season. Over from the UK, Boiling Point. A standout movie when it came out, I want to say, right at the pandemic, where the whole movie takes place in a kitchen in one long take. They're setting up this restaurant. It's all the ins and outs. It was The Bear before The Bear, if we're being honest. If you love The Bear, you're going to love this. Vice versa. They made a series out of it, and I don't really know the connection. I'm assuming it takes place after the movie, or maybe it's like a sideways. I didn't really get it. It kind of feels like it could be both. I'd have to read more into it, but we blew through what is like 6 episodes. That's all there is. They don't do the long takes anymore. I mean, they do it for some scenes, but instead you're seeing them try to run this restaurant that they might lose. It's an upscale restaurant. All these different, figures come in, from people lying about their resumes to people who are worthy of being there, but they may not be the best, match for everybody who's there. The food prep, the performances, the storylines that they all go off on, they're all just as good as the movie was, and I would highly recommend it because I think it competes with something like The Bear. The Bear's still better, don't get it twisted, but no, I thought the movie was fantastic and the show is just as good.
Yeah, I guess if you don't feel full after your The Bear season 3 binge, you got a Boiling Point sitting for you on Netflix. Right, exactly. All right, the Boiling Point season 1. Do we know if it's coming back for another season?
It better.
Hopefully season 1 of many.
Like I don't want to say BBC, but UK gets it first, and then we would get it for whatever streamer picks it up, and hopefully continues to be Netflix.
Nice. So number 4 on Art's list of the best TV shows of the year so far. Amanda, what is number 4 on your list?
I think I'm gonna put Baby Reindeer here. I'm gonna move that down a bit. I'm gonna put Baby Reindeer. I got like really involved in that. Like I made a video. I got very involved in a lot of the drama not personally involved, but just
Still going too.
I know it's still going. I have many
Amanda's
thoughts,
suing the
but,
stalker now.
She was at the court.
Yeah.
You get a lawsuit. You get a lawsuit.
Yeah, I just find it, you can, outside the idea of like, what's the difference between, based on a true story and this is a narrative version of a documentary. I think that's where some people are getting caught up on things and trying to call him out on how he portrayed certain things, even though he was like really honest about like what parts are like very accurate and what parts have kind of been changed to like
you saw the new thing too?
Stuff.
He said,
Which
I didn't want
now?
the true story. Netflix made me put it. And we know Netflix has a history with Tiger King and all that stuff. So it's like they made him more guilty with the way they wanted to adapt it too.
Yeah. And I can believe that for sure. And I think that some of this falls on Netflix not doing due diligence in certain things,
100%.
especially when he said the most accurate part about this was some of the messages I received, making it very easy to figure out who this person was. I think not to say he is, I'm just saying if something comes out that this guy is like a horrible, horrible, horrible fucking person who manipulated other people, who did a bunch of other horrible things, he was stalked, but then there's all these other things. Because I've seen some people
takes one to know one type thing.
Yeah, like some people are like, you don't know what he's like in the comedy scene. And I'm like, but do you? I don't know. Even if the worst case scenario ever came out for everything, I still think the show is an excellent portrayal of stalking, of assault, the guilt that you can feel from things happening to you, the sunk cost fallacy of this horrible thing has happened to me, but if I just keep putting up with it, I'll get what I'm promised in the end. And if I downplay how bad this is, it takes away from me having to accept what happened to me, which is like a horrible, horrible fucking thing. And then just as someone who has dealt with erotomania stalkers that make up shit in their heads, I felt that was like really accurate, and I just found myself constantly being like, no, you don't play into the delusion, you just know, what are you doing? Like I'm lucky enough that mine just haven't happened to be like in person. I haven't had to physically deal with them in front of me, but like, it's still a very specific feeling inside. So I just think that overall what the show is portraying and how authentic it feels makes it important, even if some of the stuff in the background makes it get a little bit messier in the real world. The show itself is still willing to go to places that a lot of shows and movies won't, in favor of having the perfect victim. And I like that because I think it's important to show the many different ways that people can process things happening to them. And so I think it's really good, really solid, really breezy. That's a weird way to word it, but you can finish it in an afternoon.
Right? Because it is, but it's also the creepiest show because of how effectively he shoots it. He puts you in the mind.
Yes.
It uses its cinematography to evoke the emotion in you. Like That's
exactly
beyond.
Yeah. Like the episode 4, there's people I'm like, don't watch that. If you've gone through some really harsh things for personal assault issues or anything like that, look into maybe just watch a recap of that episode, because if you're someone who's still dealing with some of that stuff, it's a very hard episode to watch, but like it's the
good. One where she is at the house.
No, this is the one where it's the producer. It's the producer episode. The house one's fucked too.
Edinburgh episode?
Yeah, the Edinburgh episode, yeah.
Edinburgh.
Like some of the other stuff affected me more and made me feel like grosser in other episodes. I just know that specific episode is one that some people are like, that episode started and I actually had to like not.
Yep.
But yeah.
I think in a lot of ways, the best qualities and maybe some of its worst qualities of the show is it really feels like an unedited diary entry. Like it is raw, it is real, it is it's an open vein of emotion and trauma and experience, and like you can't help but be really affected by it, regardless of like where you land on different ideas of like the where the story exists ethically or anything like that. There's a lot of value to take away from it for sure. So certainly one of the most talked about shows of the year. Amanda's number 4 on Netflix.
With, May I Destroy You?
Yeah, I May Destroy You.
I May Destroy You.
Or I May Destroy You, sorry.
Yeah, and keep in mind that I May Destroy You was originally supposed to be Netflix, and they were pulling shit with her before she moved it over to HBO.
Oh, there it is. Yeah. made the right choice.
Yeah,
But I think it was money. With her, I think it was they didn't want to give her. They were trying to really like lowball it, and hers is very like
Personal. Well, they're
personal
both,
and
yeah.
accurate. They are, but like hers, I do think would more so fit the description of narrative documentary in terms of looking at something that happened to me. More so than his also being like that, but then being like, we'll change some things to make it work better as like a narrative flow for a show.
Yeah.
But either way, it's something. Yeah,
I do
who
think
knows?
I May Destroy You is a show that does highlight some of the things that like maybe Baby Reindeer could have done a little bit more artfully. But
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
But yeah, both shows that are valuable.
Yes.
My number 4 of the year so far, I haven't finished it, but I've watched all 3 episodes that Park Chan-wook directed. So I got to put the Sympathizer on here.
Okay.
I find this show to be really, really fascinating for a lot of
excited to
different
get in on it.
reasons. First of all, it is shot like crazy. I've rarely seen this much stylized direction in a TV show. There are just incredibly crazy transitions and pans. I love the way that the camera will zoom in and out and back in again, just going from like a 2-shot to a close-up back to a wide. It's like really, really dynamic, incredible stuff that like only a master could bring to a format like this. It really looks unlike anything on TV. But then the show itself is kind of like insane in certain sections. Like this is a show that is sort of like ostensibly about this guy who is half Vietnamese, half French, who grew up in Vietnam, who is working in allegiance with the U.S. Army as they retreat from Vietnam, but actually is a communist sympathizer with ties to both sides. It just there's so much like cultural context that gets woven in to this, and then they slap Robert Downey Jr. in like Eddie Murphy and Meet the Professor's makeup and have him play 5 different characters. Like it's so wacky. It's got the most iconic scene of cinephilia I can remember since American Pie. But it also has this like really tense dramatic core about building a life post the Vietnam War. I've found it fascinating through 3 episodes. I have heard it goes really off the rails. I don't care. It's so intriguing. I just can't imagine that I wouldn't at least recommend people watch those first 3 episodes no matter what happens for the rest of the show. So I haven't had time to get through the whole show, but I really, really loved what I've seen so far. I got the Sympathizer at number 4 on my list.
Sick.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I'm excited. That's one of the ones I've been meaning to get into.
Yeah, let me know when you do, because there's
Yeah.
just some really, really ridiculous cinematography in it. Anyway, I got Sympathizer at 4. Let's go back to art and start the top 3. Or should we do a quick honorable mentions? I don't know if there's any other shows that you left off of your lists.
Yeah, I got you. Gerard Carmichael reality show was a very interesting show that would piss me off and then get into some really interesting moments. Another person who's just putting his whole life on display. I would recommend it and not recommend it at the same time. I think by the end of it, it kind of fizzled out a bit, but it's still interesting. Yeah. Same as what y'all were saying. House of Dragons, Boys, some interesting stuff there. Tires, Smiling Friends. Masters of the Air. If you're on Apple TV Plus and you like the guy from Manhunt, he also is in this one. Like that
cool.
boy's got the Apple TV Plus check going and going.
But he's in a bunch of Mike Flanagan shows too, right? Unless it's a different one.
He just has a time period face.
Yeah, he does have a time period
right?
face.
Are we talking Tobias Menzies or somebody different?
No, the
that
guy
main-
in the
main
main-
guy.
I'm thinking a different one.
Henry something. Or he's
Yeah.
Henry in a show. I can't remember his
Right.
real name.
Anthony
Sorry.
Boyle. That boy.
There you go.
Yeah.
That boy.
Nice.
Yeah, he's in a bunch of Apple shows. Speaking of Apple, Sugar Season 1A. You can stop at episode 5. And you will enjoy the show. I would have had Baby Reindeer as well. And that's it for me.
Amanda, any other honorable mentions?
No, I think I mentioned everything that I'm
Cool.
caught up enough on for that.
Oh, I'll add the a best episode. SNL, Ramy's episode. I love that one.
All right. solid. The whole back half of SNL, I think, was pretty solid between the Rami episode, the Ryan Gosling episode. They
Been a while.
had some strong ones, yeah.
It's good.
My honorable mentions, the one that I kind of wanted to sneak on but didn't was Conan Must Go, Conan O'Brien's new travel show on Max.
Mean, bro. I'm sorry, he was too mean.
I kind of love it. He's like a misbehaving child or something like that.
Yeah.
It's just really silly to me, and I like that he's willing to kind of, I don't know, be a little bit uncomfortable in pursuit of the comedy. But yeah, it's funny seeing a guy like this in the middle of what is like ostensibly a travel show, just refusing to kind of do the travel show things and continue being a clown. I love Conan O'Brien. I love the show. Invincible Season 2B, we mentioned that earlier. Ren Fair on HBO, the Lance Oppenheim docu-fiction kind of show about the succession at a Renaissance festival. It's one of the most visually compelling shows of the year, and it's got a whole host of like really incredible characters. That's a really interesting show. And then you mentioned Sugar. I was gonna put it here as well because like I did enjoy Sugar for a bit.
Loved the first half. So it's difficult to not recommend it.
Exactly. Just maybe, as he said, stop before the twist, or watch it until the twist and then just bail.
Yeah.
Just to see what it is, because, wow. Anyway, let's get into our top threes. Art, start us off.
Fallout. Amazon original series. I did not expect for it to be that good, especially when it's an adaptation of a game series that's been around since the 90s. I think 90s right now, 80s, but it's been around for so long. It has all this lore. You would think you're just going to piss off people. And I don't know how they did it. They got a hit on their hands, and they were able to at least please most of the fans. We had the opportunity to go to South by and like live in the world of Fallout. Zach and I joked that it's like they pretty much gave us everything: the bottle caps, coffee, all these different things, everything but the screeners to actually watch the show.
Yeah,
so we had to wait for it to come out. And that was even better, though, because you need to see this in that high quality, not that 720p screener access that they give you. The sound design, the sets, the characters, all of them are so lived in. I thought it was a fantastic show. And I think the way that they wrapped up a lot of the storylines in the game about what this Fallout was, who caused it, what the purpose of the vaults were, and how people are trying to survive is so fascinating. I could see them go for a bunch of seasons. My only worry is they combined a lot of these video games already. I don't want them to season 8.
Oh, Game of Thrones. Yeah, season 8 it. Yeah,
I'm
that's my
a little
number
worried about
one. That's my number one of the year so far, I think, actually, yeah.
No, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
What'd you like so much about Fallout?
I just thought it was like, I guess I went into it with like really like low expectations because for one, like most video game adaptations are just bad. But then, Nolan's involved, not Christopher, his brother, Jonathan, the one I actually do think is better at story.
Not Oppenheimer?
What?
Not Oppenheimer? His third brother, Oppenheimer?
Westworld.
Yeah, is Oppenheimer. Yeah, exactly. But I do think Jonathan's a little bit better with like story in some areas compared to Chris. I think Chris is really good with big ideas, and then Jonathan always seemed to be the one to like add the heart, whether that's fully true or not. But I have reasons for believing that. But so I was pretty excited just with his involvement. I was like, okay, cool. But then you also had like the main Bethesda guy overly involved and like this could go multiple ways. But no, I really liked it. I think the performances are really good. I like the way it kind of settles into like what led to it, and I really like the idea of us kind of like following this person who was an actor paid to promote the vault technology before it happened, then still finds himself like trapped in the wasteland. And I just, I feel like they've really barely scratched the surface on what's kind of happened with those characters and him specifically and his family, that there's still at least one more solid season that I don't have to worry about. I think that they've got it locked for at least that next season. But yeah, I just thought it was really good. I love the style. I love the sound. I think they pace it really well. So yeah, it was just solid television. Yeah.
I also had this one at number 3 on my list.
Nice.
A really good time with it. It went down easy. It was just a pretty slick show to watch. I think this show gets world building down really well.
Yes.
It's because it's interesting to try and like when you adapt these properties and they are sort of like endlessly big. You know, there is a whole list and that's longer than we can get through of like stories from the Fallout universe that you could try to inject into this. And you got to select like the right few to kind of give you a good comprehensive overview, but not too much to overwhelm the viewer. I thought they did like a really incredible job at kind of like finding that through line, finding these like 3 or 4 characters that we're really attached to and following, and then from there you kind of can build out. Like in ways, it almost reminds me of how Lost used to get into its story, because there's a little bit of that like flashbacky element where the past sort of informs the present, and there is like this mix of like in-world story and personal to the character story going on. I think, yeah, they just did a really good job of establishing this world we're in a fun way. Like, it doesn't feel like a chore. It doesn't feel unnecessarily dour. They're making it, you know, a good, entertaining, fun show. So yeah. I really enjoyed that first season, and it kind of feels like between Fallout and the success of The Boys and Invincible as well, they're sort of like establishing a tone for what is like a successful Amazon Prime show. These like sort of stylized, hyper-violent, cheeky, glib comedies. But yeah.
I like
all right.
it.
All of us got Fallout Season 1 in the top 3. But Amanda, what is your number 3?
I think I'm going to put Shogun at number 3.
Very cool.
Shogun. I just really liked it. This is like based on a book I haven't read yet, but that came out like 60 years ago now or something like that, close to. But I think it's just such an interesting world that they've developed in like, feudal Japan is what you'd call it. I'm pretty sure feudal Japan. But it's just great performances. Just it's shot really well. Like, I think it took me a bit to actually dive into it because it was an FX show, and FX shows aren't even necessarily bad, but I think like sometimes you're just kind of like, you get a certain idea about certain network style television things that you're just kind of like, it's a history piece. It's for Japan by FX. It's probably like not going to look great. It's probably not going to be acted great, but it's like the total opposite. Like, it's shot incredibly well. It's
the most expensive show they've ever produced.
Yeah, and you can tell. But and for it to be a show that's in Japanese, like obviously there is a dubbed version, but like most people are watching it, I think, in Japanese.
As it should.
Yeah, so like the fact that that's the one that they're being like, okay, we're going to dump so much money into this and have it be a non-English language, primarily English show, was kind of weird for them to do. Not
it's a gamble,
but
yeah.
it was a gamble, and it paid off so incredibly well. It's such a good show,
Because it's also Japanese from that time period, so it's different than modern Japanese. So they
exactly
even have the actors having to do, like some re-ups on their Duolingo or whatever. I have this at number 1, so
nice.
I agree. I think
Nice.
FX does have that stamp of approval with Fargo. That was in
You're right. That was
from
FX.
the last
That
one.
is FX.
I think
You're
it's the
right.
best thing Hulu's got at the moment. I don't know about a season 2, but I mean, the reason we got this poster was because they were showing it in theaters because of the way that it was shot, that it could be presented like a film. And
yeah, it's so good.
I think all the performances, the way that they all play off of each other, yeah, he's the best show
So good.
of the year so far. Until we see the bear.
Yeah, until we see the bear.
Yeah, I this is the one that I'm kicking myself the most over not having caught up all the way, because I've heard nothing but pretty incredible things about this show. When it's so successful that even though for months and weeks and however long the creators were saying this is a miniseries, this is a one-off, they're bring it
I don't
back.
believe them when they say. I don't believe them when they say that anymore.
No.
It's an event series. Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder how much of it is Fox or FX rather trying to finagle their way into the best drama series at the Emmys rather than compete in best miniseries. They probably have the upper hand in comedy with The Bear and how that's become an awards juggernaut, and now they might have a juggernaut in the drama category as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, regardless, good show. From what I hear, I need to catch up with it. Art, you said you have Shogun at your number 1, but what is your number 2?
Another one that I just don't believe when they come out and say this is the finale. Curb Your Enthusiasm season 12 is not going to be the end because that
boy's...
good
reason for that, He can't stop.
He can't. He's going to have an itch and he's going to come back. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
There's too much. What's he going to do? Just stay at home? The reason he didn't want to stay at home was because, or the reason why he didn't stay at home was because he ended up creating this show. Like he doesn't want to just be out there doing nothing. 12 seasons later, I see there's still being a lot more story to be told, but I thought it was a hysterical way to end the show if you know the history of this man and specifically the Seinfeld finale and the way it parallels that. The way he's able to kind of bring around so many of the characters and crazy scenarios that he's been in throughout these 12 seasons. I thought it was still firing on all cylinders. Like, even if it was its own individual season, it's probably the most quotable out of all the comedies that I have here on this list, and he's just as funny as ever.
Yeah, I left this one off of my number 10 slot because I knew I could rely on you to make sure it was in the top 10, but Curb Your Enthusiasm, just a absolutely hilarious show.
You have it at 11?
And I guess... Yeah,
I think he swapped it with like a different comedy.
I put Girls 5 Eva in there. I was debating between the two of those, but
there's that Leon line where he says, "I was in a 3-way. I didn't get B2'd, I got We2'd."
Oh God,
Leon, they just left that man off.
Yeah,
to do anything this season. All of them were firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, I can't wait for whenever we get the return of Larry David, whether that is Curb Your Enthusiasm or something else. But I just have a feeling he'll be back. So
he lives on through Cassie.
Exactly. All right, so Curb Your Enthusiasm, Art's number 2 show of the year. Amanda, I think that leaves X-Men 97 as your number 2?
Yes. Yeah, X-Men, that's my number 2.
Nice. Anything we haven't mentioned yet? Or did you talk it all
I think
earlier?
I covered it earlier. It's just a good show. If you've ever been a fan of X-Men or you just like animated stuff in general, it's an easy recommend. It's very good. It's very good.
Nice. All right. So then I got the heavy lifting for the rest of the show. My number 2 is Everybody's in LA, the John Mulaney week-long talk show on Netflix.
Oh.
I just kind of feel like this has been the antidote to the ills that plague the American late-night talk show in a lot of ways. I think Hot Ones has developed this really big reputation, partially because it's a good premise, but largely because they're able to catch celebrities off guard by way of whether it's the stimulation from the hot wings and that sort of messing with your mind, or just the really smart and well-researched questions that Sean Evans and his team do. They elicit really interesting answers because they break the conventions of the talk show format that we're so used to. John Mulaney found a way to do that without having people scald their tongues. It's just a really fun vibe where he pairs these big famous comedians with regular people who just happen to be experts in coyotes or in wildlife preservation or in earthquakes or whatever have you. The mix of diving into the culture of Los Angeles and just sort of vibing with the assembled comedians that he has, it just made a really fun talk show. And the way that you sometimes look at those British talk shows, the Graham Nortons and stuff, and how they have these really fun panels that we've never been able to recreate. James Corden tried it here, but he's James Corden, so it didn't quite work that way. John Mulaney got it down, and he got it on Netflix. He made an appointment viewing late night talk show on Netflix, which has struggled so much to have a appointment viewing to get people to show up for a live in some ways. So I hope this is a thing that comes back. I know he said that he'd be open to it in a scenario where there are lots of people in a place, the whole Everybody's in LA thing being tied to the Netflix is a joke LA Comedy Festival being the impetus for this. But I don't know. I had so much fun with it. I've revisited the episodes. I think it's just a really great medium for who's one of the people who's probably like the current kings of stand-up comedy in John Mulaney. I really, really enjoyed Everybody's in LA.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, so that's my number 2. Art, your number 1 was Shogun.
Mm-hmm. And the bear.
And preemptively the bear. Amanda, your number 1 was Fallout.
Yeah.
And my
And the
number
bear.
1, I'm going to start.
Good Times on Netflix.
Oh, geez. Not that one. My number 1, I'm going to start this list I'm going to end this list the way that we started the list. Because my number 1 is Ripley on Netflix.
Oh, hell yeah.
Whoa, wow,
Yeah.
Tenet. Okay.
It's good.
I think this is like a really incredible like exploration of the mind of a con artist. Just the way
For sure.
you get this like really methodical treatment of his plans. You really see all the thought and all the careful like maneuvering that's necessary in order to find his way around these different circumstances, and it's all made that much more vivid and real through what's probably the best performance on TV so far this year in Andrew Scott.
Yeah, I can agree
he's
with
just
you, for
got
sure.
these like shark black eyes that feel so treacherous, like he's waiting to pounce on his prey, but doing it behind like a kind of kind expression.
He's a good actor.
There's I think a good testament of like whether or not an actor is a good actor if they're enjoyable to watch just thinking, right? Like not even delivering a line, seeing them deliberate, seeing them toss something over in their head. And he's someone who, without a word, can communicate so much about his frame of mind, what he's doing, what he's thinking. And there's so many sequences that are told through wordless, without any dialogue, just completely wordlessly, as he like discards of a
Contemplates.
body, or he tries to like worm his way into a situation, and it's just so well done. It's so tense. They can cut to a shot of a cat in a corner, and it's like, oh no, it's gonna ruin everything. It's incredible cinematography from the boy Robert Elswit. It's just so good. I was fascinated by it, and like you were saying earlier, it has a heavy reputation to live up to, not just because the character's iconic, but also the Matt Damon movie being so fresh in our minds in a lot of ways. But rather than just give you the exact same thing, they found a new pathway in that has its own unique feeling to it. And the two can exist side by side and be perfectly valuable as their own incredible pieces of work. And they
Best
both
example of
are.
it. Yeah. Also, shout out Dakota, because a lot of the movies that she's been in recently, I don't want to put it on her, and now I can say it's not on her. It's on the direction. You don't like her
Yeah.
in the show?
No, I question what you're saying about
One of our
issues with
great
Dakota.
child actresses.
Have you seen The
not your
Watchers?
Dakota Fanning.
No, I'm joking.
Yeah, now you're Dakota. Dakota Fanning
No,
was
I know,
not
I'm
good. And
joking.
Equalizer was not good.
No, she's
in,
not good, no.
The other one,
No, she
She's
said
still
she got
got
to
it
take a
here.
break, and I'm like, oh no, she's got it. It is a direction thing with her for sure. For sure.
Are you just a stan of all Dakotas? Like, do you also rep
I
for
was
North
gonna
and
say,
South
I
Dakota?
was taking that. Yeah, I thought you
North
said
Dakota fan.
ignore all the Dakotas this year, and I was like, sir.
How dare you?
Yeah, no.
Well, you forgot
I like
another
Dakota.
one, Zach, the bear.
Oh,
The Bear.
great. And my
And
co
The
number
Bear.
one is The Bear, season
The Bear.
3, starring Jeremy Allen White, Io Debris.
And that cameo from Dakota Fanning
th-
in episode 7, of course. Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so our 10 best TV shows of the year so far. Let's go back through our lists. Art, can you read yours out?
Ripley over on Netflix. X-Men 97 over on Disney Plus. Disney, Hulu, whatever you have, Stars, I don't know. Abbott Elementary, season 3 on HBO. Hacks, Season 3. Ted, the event series, coming back for another one over on Peacock. And then in my top 5, The Vince Staples Show over on Netflix. Definitely give that a watch. Boiling Point, it's on Netflix for us in the U.S., maybe somewhere else for you. And then my top 3 being Fallout over on Prime, Curb Your Enthusiasm finale on HBO, and FX's Shogun, the limited series, coming back for a season 2.
Nice. Amanda, what are your top 10 TV shows of the year so far?
I moved some of these around while I was talking, but I think what I gave you was Ripley at number 10, Dead Boy Detectives at number 9, The Gentleman at number 8, Interview with the Vampire at number 7.
Still good.
The Boys So Far at number 6, Manhunt at 5, Baby Reindeer at 4, Shogun at 3, X-Men 97 at 2, and I put Fallout in my number 1 spot.
Checks out. All right. My 10 best TV shows of the year so far are Girls 5 Eva Season 3 at number 10 on Netflix. Ted Season 1, number 9 on Peacock. The Vince Staples Show Season 1 on Netflix at number 8. I got Tires on Netflix over at number 7. Mr. and Mrs. Smith from Prime at number 6. Hacks on Max Season 5 at number 5. The Sympathizer on HBO at number 4. Fallout from Prime at number 3. Everybody's in LA on Netflix at number 2. And then Ripley at the top spot, number 1 from Netflix. I have kind of been negative on Netflix on these recaps in years past, and now they've got 2 of my favorite shows of the year, a couple others that I enjoyed. I guess I got to eat my words or apologize to Ted Sarandos or something. But yeah,
let's not go that far.
Yeah, let's not go that far. But yeah, it's been an interesting year for TV so far, and we've got a lot of really great shows to come, from House of the Dragon to The Bear, which is now 6 hours away from dropping. But yeah, thanks again for recapping the best TV shows we've had so far this year. Amanda, where can people find more from you?
You can find me all over the place on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd at Amanda the Jedi.
Nice. Arturo?
You can find me over at LME Movies on all social media, from Letterboxd, YouTube, all that good stuff every week here on the Intercut Podcast.
And you can find me at Zshevich across social media, or at Multiplex Show wherever you find videos. But you can also find every episode of the Intercut Podcast on whatever your favorite podcatcher is: iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify. I like Overcast, and then make sure you're subscribed not just to the audio podcast, but to the video podcast as well. YouTube.com/IntercutPod, where you can watch our listing faces as we run through the latest in entertainment. Find new episodes of the Weekend Must Watch every week on the channel, and please leave us a comment, like the videos, consider heading over to iTunes to give us the much requested 5-star review. Shout out to our listeners in many places for putting us on the TV and film podcast charts there. Like our Facebook, our Instagram, our Twitter, our TikTok pages. You can support our Patreon. You can find all of them at Intercut Pod, as well as a link to our Discord available in the description of this episode. You can also become a member, whether that's on Patreon or on YouTube, for as little as $3 a month, and get all sorts of inner cutie benefits for this podcast while supporting our show. We really appreciate those of you who do. Thanks again for tuning in, and until next time, there's a lot of money in selling the end of the world.